Hi there, welcome to another Close to My Heart Twisted Sisters YouTube hop. My name is Sandy Zimmer and I'm a Close to My Heart maker in Canada. Today I'm going to show you how to make this 3D interactive card using the Tailgate greetings from our new January-February catalog. So if you haven't seen this catalog yet, you can check it out on my website, sandyzim.closetomyheart.com. And here's just a little peek at the catalog and the stamp set that I'm going to be using today. So that's the Tailgate greetings. So you'll see down at the bottom here that you can buy it with or without the thin cut. This is Canadian pricing, so I'm not sure where you're from. Here are the examples that they've shown us in the catalog. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use this stamp set. C2003 is the one that I chose. So it's the one without the thin cut. You could use either one of them for sure. So I'm using this Capri cardstock, and it's 8.5 inches wide. And I decided to use the Capri so I wouldn't have to do a whole lot of coloring. I do love to color, but I know it's not everybody's thing. So I thought I would create a card where there wasn't very much coloring or you didn't have to color at all. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink this stamp up using the Intense ink. And I'm going to stamp it at the bottom of this cardstock, which, as I said, is 8.5 inches wide. And I'm going to try to put it somewhat in the middle. It's not 100% perfect, and it's okay because I'm going to trim it down a little bit, but I just wanted to show you how that kind of came together. So I'm just pressing down on that. I've got my all-purpose mat underneath, and I've got my Versamat flipped over as well, so I've got the foamy side up. So we've got a little bit of play there, so I get a good stamping impression. And now I just have another little piece of Capri cardstock as well. And I'm just going to stamp a second one on there just so that I can finish off my card and create the tailgate part of it. So even though I'm going to cut most of this off, I'm just going to stamp one on there, get a really good impression, and then I'll show you later how I'm going to put that together. So I'm just going to slide this into my paper trimmer here, and I'm going to cut it at, I think I'm at 1/2 inch here. Oh, sorry, 1.5 inches there. And then I'm going to slide it over to 1/2 inch and I'm going to trim again. Now you'll see that I'm lifting the blade when I get to the truck, and that allows me to cut right up to the truck, but not through the truck. So again, you could use your thin cut for this and then just thin cut partially through this, but I decided to just go ahead and fussy cut it out. It wasn't really hard to do. I didn't cut it right up against the truck when I did it, so I left a little bit of a border, so it was a pretty easy cut. So you'll see when I lift that up a little bit higher here, you'll see the cut, and those little flaps are out there. So now I'm just going to grab my scissors and I'm going to fussy cut around there. And what I like to do is I like to just do sort of a big cut around first, and you'll see what I mean here in a second, as soon as I go around this little mirror. I find that when I have a big piece of paper to cut with, it's a little more difficult to get a nice cut with my fussy cut. So I'm trimming away that big piece of paper, and then I'm just going to go back in and continue with my fussy cutting. So I'm going to cut around the top, and then I'm going to cut around the bottom, leaving those flaps on the sides to create my 3D dimension and allow me to slide some little mice, which are also in the new catalog here. They're the snow mice, Z7114. I use the thin cuts for those. And I sort of did a little bit of a twist with them as well. They've got snowballs and things on them, and I decided to cut those off and just use just the mice. So you'll see that in a little bit here as well. So I'm just continuing to cut around that truck. Now I do have to apologize, this is a little bit of a longer video than I normally like to do, but I didn't want to leave any of the pieces out so that if you've never done this type of card before, you can see all of the details and how it comes together. If you know how to do some of this, of course, you can fast forward through it. That's the nice thing about YouTube, right? Is that you can fast forward, you can stop it, you can come back and watch it detail by detail as well. So here I am just cutting around that, finishing that off, getting that remnants out of the way, and there we go. So now I'm just going to fold those little pieces over the edge here, and then I'm going to use my bone folder to just get a really nice press down there. And when I fold the second one over, I want to be careful that those pieces line up together. And that just means that when I put my truck together, it's going to match up perfectly. I'm going to fold it to the front, and I want to make sure that they still match. So that's the beginnings of it standing up. Now for the second half here, I just need from the tailgate down. So you'll see me cut off the top portion of that truck, and then I'm just going to quickly fussy cut all the way around that as well. I kind of want to leave the tires flat up against where I left it or I stamped it, so that I get a really nice card that will stand up really well. If you decided to cut that off, it would be totally fine. But you'll see at the end here why I was a little bit more particular about that. I just wanted to stand up. So I just am going to fold this in. I'm going to just grab my paper trimmer here, and I'm just going to use that rail cutter there and my bone folder to just create a good crease. So I'm just going 1/2 inch in on either side there. Then I'm going to take that off, use my bone folder to create that really good press. And that will allow me to eventually add the tailgate to the front of my truck, or the back of my truck, I guess I should say. So you'll see that it will fold either way. So now I'm going to go in and I'm just going to cut some 1-inch strips here. And those are going to be the middle parts so that I can add some little mice in the middle of my card. So I'm just measuring this out and figuring out how wide I want this to go. So I end up going to 4 3/8, and I'll show you that on the paper trimmer here. And then I'm also scoring at 1/2 inch on either side. And again, I'm going to use my bone folder to just give those guys a really good crease. And then those will eventually fit in that flap there, again, as I said, to just accommodate those mice that I want to be in there. So I'm lifting that up in a second here. There's my 1/2 inch. Here's my 1/2 inch on the other side. I love that that paper trimmer has the option to do it on either side. So you'll see it's just 1 notch before 4 1/2. So that gives me 4 3/8. So that works well for this particular one. If you were going to create this dimension with a different stamp set, you might want to change those measurements. It will depend on how wide your subject area is in the middle. So now I'm just going to use this marker here, the turquoise shades, blue turquoise shades, just to add a little bit more detail. Again, it's not something you have to do. I just sort of go over the parts that are inked and just add a little bit more interest. And I do a lot of that off camera, so you don't have to watch me. And then I'm going in with the ice gray blend and the ice gray shades again, just to color in that bumper and give it a little bit more detail. Again, it's something that you can choose to do or not to do. It's up to you. Just going to color that bumper in. And I also come in with the liquid gold and the silver paint pen as well. And that just helps me to get those tail lights in there and also to create the mirrors with the silver. So you'll see that in a moment as well. So if you enjoy my videos, I'd really like it if you could click on the subscribe button. That helps me out. There's those markers. If you subscribe, that means you'll get a notification every time I post something. And you can, of course, share these videos with anyone that you like. That helps me out on YouTube as well. And if you give me a thumbs up, that would also be great. The ultimate would be if you went to my website, sandyzim.ctmh.com, and made a purchase. That also helps me out. So now I'm using that little stamp, "You Are Great." Just putting that on the license plate there on both of them. You'll see that I've added adhesive on these little pieces, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to assemble that. So if I just fold that in there and then across, pick that up, that gives me that dimension that I'm looking for. This one is a little tougher to do, but if you go from one side and then the other and just go that 1/2 inch up, you'll see that they match up really nicely. And last but not least, I'm going to put the tailgate on. Now, had I folded both of those down at the same time, that would have made my life a little easier. But I didn't think about that when I was creating the video, so you'll see that I had to play with that a tiny bit. But it does work out in the end. I just have to do a little bit more adjusting to get it exactly where I want it to be. So there we go, and I'm just rubbing off that extra glue that might be on there, making sure that it folds to the left and it folds to the right. Now you can see that I'm using this little mouse Stampin' thin cut set, and I've already cut off those extra pieces. I'm just laying on my mice there so you can see, the pieces that I've cut off. And they're pretty easy to do, pretty easy to trim off. And I'm just playing around and sort of figuring out where I want them to go inside this truck. Now you could fill this truck with anything you wanted to. You could fill it with presents for birthdays or Christmas. You could fill it with straw bales or hay bales. You could fill it with, pumpkins or Christmas trees. I mean, anything that you wanted to. It's so great because you can use any stamp sets that you already have or create some things, with the new stamp sets as well. I just wanted to use these little mice because they were in this catalog, and I think they're absolutely adorable. I stamped those on white daisy, and then I colored them up using our markers. Now I'm just sort of trying this out on one of our card bases, just to sort of see for placement. And I've cut a white daisy piece of cardstock there down to 4 inches by 5.5. And I'm just lining up some letters here from the Shadows alphabet, and I'm using Capri, and I'm using HBD for happy birthday. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp that first one with first generation, and then I'm not going to re-ink, and I'm going to stamp the second one with second generation. So you'll see me pull in another piece of cardstock here. I'm going to do my stamp off there and then continue to use second generation on my card, just so that original happy birthday HBD really stands out and the other ones are just sort of lightly in the background. Now I didn't do a fantastic job of making sure that these were lined up really lovely and whatnot, and I think it's okay because it sort of gets covered up a lot by the truck anyway, but if it's something that's important to you, you might want to take a little bit more time and line it up. I go ahead and I add that stamping above and all around what I've already stamped, just so that it looks like a piece of paper that's been cut down. I really like how that comes together. So now I'm just going to grab that blender brush and that Capri ink, and I'm just going to ink around the edges. So I hope you'll look at the description here when the video's over and click on the links for my other Twisted Sisters and watch their creations. We have quite a creative bunch, and we're twisting up things from this new catalog. So you'll see here that I'm going around and, kind of doing the Sandy Zimmer thing where I always want to do a little bit of a border using my black journaling pen. Now, this is something you don't have to do. It's totally preference. I'm going to pop that onto my card base. And now I'm going to just figure out my placement for this truck. I've already gone ahead and I've put adhesive on the back of that original stamp there so that it stays put and the rest of it is movable. I had that one little mouse left over and I couldn't not use it, so I just put it on the card. It's kind of covered up a little bit when you close that truck down. And then of course it opens up really cute so that you can see all 4 of those mice when it's opened. So there you go. There's the gist of that card. I'm just going to show you a couple different angles. Of course, you can open up that card and do some writing on the inside. So here's some different angles of the card. So again, I really hope that you've enjoyed this video, that you'll check out the Twisted Sisters link in the comments, or pardon me, in the description. I hope you'll leave me a sweet comment and go to my website, sandyzim.closetomyheart, and .com, pardon me, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks so much. Bye for now.